Welcome everyone to episode 64 of the Missing Pieces podcast. If this is your first time watching or listening, my name's Greg, and this is where I sit down and I discuss my life, Lego, and anything else that's on my mind each week. And this week was a very big week for the Brickitect studio. We'll talk more about that here in a minute. But before we do that, I have some Patreon thank yous to give out, the first of which goes to Matthew. Matthew, thank you for joining us. We also need to thank Purple Turtles. We've got Bobby, James, Random Plays, Tracy, Brian, and Ryan. Thank you guys so much for joining us on Patreon. The Discord is really just popping on there, and I'm having a great time. Can I use the word popping? Am I able, as a 35-year-old dude, to say the word popping? I'm gonna say it's popping. It's definitely popping, and it's a great time there chatting with everyone and having a good time. We're also doing the Friday night patron streams, the Tuesday lunch and Legos. It's just like, it's all coming together, and I want to thank you guys all for joining. The past couple weeks, it's just been insane, and it's an incredible community there. So thank you guys for that. But on to this week's business. As I mentioned, the studio's looking a little different. It's looking a little barren behind me, I suppose. My shelves are gone. The TV setup behind me is gone. Literally, nothing's here. In fact, this morning, I actually brought this desk in that we're doing this all on, and I got this whole thing set up here. So prior to that, there was nothing here. And that's because, most of you probably already know this because I've been gushing about it all week, we got new carpeting down here. First of all, it's fantastic. It's godlike, as I'm saying. And I want to talk about the carpeting a little bit. Actually, I'll probably be talking about it a lot because it kind of revolves around everything that's happening in here and kind of where, the direction that this whole space is going to be going. And that's a big deal to me. Maybe it isn't for you, but we will be talking about some Lego stuff coming up here in a little bit and some gaming stuff as well, as this is episode 64. Some of you can probably guess what I'm going to be talking about a little bit later, but stay tuned for that. So let's talk about the carpeting situation. I want to take you back. You guys love Brickitect Storytime. Storytect should become a thing, as should something else, which I don't have on the outline here, but I want to talk about in a bit. This is going to be good. It's going to be a good episode. If you haven't left a like yet, go ahead and do that. If you're listening to this, just like it inside your brain. Just be like, yeah, I'm going to leave a like inside my head on this. Let's talk about the backstory on the carpeting. 1 year ago, we purchased this house. Almost 1 year to the day. In fact, 1 week from now will be 1 year. And after doing so, and acquiring this place, I loved the studio down here. Or it wasn't a studio then, it was a basement. It was mostly an empty basement with like a movie theater projector and a PlayStation 3 hooked up back here where the kids would come down here and play. There was like kids' toys and stuff when we first looked at the house, which quickly moved out as time went by because the people moved to Texas that lived here. But down in the studio, everything was cool except for, well, there was actually a few things that weren't cool, at least in my book. The walls were kind of tan. And to some people, that's fine. And it could have been, but they also had this blue carpeting that was in here, just like royal blue carpeting. And then the bar, that's a whole nother situation we're going to be talking about here in a minute as well. But the tan walls with the blue carpeting just was not my jam at all. So first thing I decided to do was paint all the walls just this brilliant white. I just wanted something that looked super clean, something that would reflect a lot of light, something that would be bright in a place that, I mean, it does have a lot of windows and stuff down here, which I have closed right now just for lighting purposes, because otherwise I would look like a literal ghost right now, as much as I may right now. I decided that I was going to paint all the walls white, and I did that. And I decided that I didn't want to rock the blue carpeting after some debate. I was like, well, you know, it's okay, but I wouldn't necessarily want blue carpeting. And it also extended into like the kitchen area that's over here and in front of the door. And I wanted to put like some tile in there and kind of just break the space up a little bit. So we went to a carpeting place and I talked to the guy there and he said about putting the tile in, and that was all good. We found some really nice gray tile to put in. So they did that first. And then we looked through all of the carpeting stuff that they had there. And Cody and I found this carpet that, or Mrs. Brickitect as she's known in some circles, we found this carpet that I thought was real nice and she liked as well. Like buying carpeting is a very dangerous thing. I'll just start by saying that. Essentially, you're choosing to fill an entire space with this thing that you can literally see just a little square of, that oftentimes doesn't look the same or anywhere close to what you're looking at there. And I kind of found that out the hard way, but we were just looking through a bunch and we found one that looked kind of cool. It was a mix between what could be tan, it could be gray, it had some little black flecks in it. And my colors are kind of that. Like I love like the grays and the blacks, and like it's just like, it seemed like it would be great. And I could see it, the little square of it. In fact, they even got us a bigger square, which is like that, which didn't help much. But I felt it. The carpeting kind of felt soft or whatever, and I matched it with the tile because we had both samples at home at the same time, and I'm like, this is going to look banging. So everything seemed to be good. I put the down payment on it, and then they came to install the carpeting after the tile had already been in. And as soon as I came downstairs when they were done to look at it, for them to show it to me, I instantly realized that I hated the carpeting that they put in. And unfortunately, when you're in a spot like that, I don't think that there's much you can do. I didn't tell them that I didn't like it. I was like, yeah, looks great. But as soon as I stepped foot on it, I was like, no, this is not the carpeting that I want in my life. It didn't feel good underfoot. Like, it didn't feel like the padding was all that great. And we didn't even discuss padding. Like, the salespeople didn't do much with me. They didn't discuss that, you know, this is a pretty shag style carpet, like with a thick pile, which I also didn't like because as a Lego builder and as a channel that tends to drop pieces quite a bit that turn into missing pieces like this podcast, it wasn't great for that. It just didn't feel good. And when you walked across it, it even had like a bad sound. And I know I'm coming off as like massively OCD or whatever on this, but there's just some things in my life that I tend to obsess over. And a lot of that is based on like style and like visual appearance and how things feel and how things sound. And I maybe there's other people out there that can relate to this, but sometimes tiny little sounds will bother me. Like, it could be almost be anything. And it's like, I had an older car at one point and there was like sounds it made and it drove me nuts. So it's these little things that trigger me. And I realized I didn't like the carpeting. And for the last year, I've been dealing with this issue. That's not even an issue. This is like beyond first world problems. But I've been dealing with this carpeting that I wasn't a fan of. And this is like, for me, this is my space in the house. I could deal with things that aren't great in other places or whatever, but like this is my studio, this is my space, this is where I work, this is where I play, this is where I kind of live. I mean, this is, you know, you guys get the idea. I'm sure we all have like a certain spot in our house. Like, you have, maybe it's just a desk that you're sitting at and that's where you build your Lego at, and you have your computer, you eat your food there or whatever. It's like, this is your thing. And maybe like simple things don't bother you. And I've watched like YouTube videos and I've seen other people's carpet, taking this back to the carpet conversation. It's like, for me, it's like disgusting looking or like ugly or whatever. And it doesn't seem to bother that person at all. So I like to think that maybe I'm kind of like weird or different, but you know, I'm okay with that because I think sometimes you need to embrace being weird or different, because sometimes those things that make you weird can sometimes be your greatest strengths occasionally, or they can be your biggest downfall. The jury's still out on me. I really don't even know. But I've been dealing with this for a year, and I just decided finally to be like, listen, I'm going to go look at some different carpeting and see if I can find something that I would really love. And I had kind of a bad experience. I went to a different place because I didn't want to show my face in the place that I went to before. As good as like they seem to be, like really nice ladies working there. I didn't want to go back there and be like, yeah, I'm looking for new carpeting because you just installed this one like a year ago and I've hated it ever since you put it in. Like, I feel bad because like the lady even called me after they put the original one in and she was like, how do you like the new carpeting? I'm like, I love it. It's great. Because I should have probably been like, you know, I'm not a fan at all, to be honest with you. And she'd been like, sorry, that's what you picked. It's not like they're just going to rip it out. It's not like you return in a product to Walmart and you go pick another one off the shelf or get your money back. It's kind of a done thing. And it's one heck of a commitment. So if you're ever thinking about getting carpeting, just be very careful. Talk to them about it. Like, live with it, breathe it, see what it's like. Try to judge it off the bigger sample, but it's usually not the color you want, so it's tough. But I ended up going to this place. It has a good reputation near us. And I went in and I was very upfront. I said, I'm looking for the lowest pile, and pile is like how long the carpet fibers are. I wanted something very low, but I also wanted something very soft. And they gave me a sample, and I'm like, so this is the one. And they're like, yeah, this is what you're looking for. I brought it home, and I checked it out, and I'm just like, you know what? This doesn't feel much better. And in fact, it somewhat feels worse than the carpeting that I currently have in here. So I took it back, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not satisfied with this. And there was an old man sitting there, I'm assuming like the owner or guy that works there, and he's like, I was like, I want the softest carpeting that I can possibly get. And he's like, come with me. So we go over to the side of the store here, and he goes through these carpeting samples. And there's this one carpet that is just amazing. And I'm like, that's incredible. Now, it's a little more expensive, of course, but it felt fantastic. And I was like, let me take that sample home and think about this. So I brought it home, and I'm like, yep, this is it. This is what I want. And I ended up committing to that. I was a little frustrated with this experience, though, because I didn't have the guts to say to them, And maybe I just need to like man up a little bit here. Maybe it comes from working in the working world or like being an employee for so long, but I always feel like I'm just trying to be like a people pleaser. Like you're representing someone like a company, and you always have to, the customer is always right, and you always have to be like, you know what, you're right, I'm wrong. You take like the less aggressive route, I suppose, and you don't say how you truly feel. And I think a lot of us live in that world, those of us that have been employed. But when you're when you're a customer and you represent no one but yourself, I could have gone in there and be like, I'm going to not use any foul language here, but I would have been like, listen, dude, I don't know what you're trying to pull, but I told you I wanted the nicest carpeting. I don't know why you put this on me when this was existing over here. And I gave him a chance when we left to be like, I'm like, are you sure this is it? Because to me, it didn't, even in store, it didn't feel amazing. I think one of two things happened. I either think that they profiled me, which basically meant like I walked in there. I wasn't dressed up by any means. You guys see how I dress. It's not like I'm wearing a suit, and I've got my 5-year-old son with me with probably like a Minecraft mask on and glasses that are in the shape of stars. They probably were like, yeah, this guy can't afford decent carpeting. Let's give him the middle of the grade one, and let's see. Or the other option is if they weren't profiling me, there's two other things. It could be that they get a commission off of what they sell there, and I think the carpeting they led me towards maybe was one that had a higher commission structure or was like their store brand carpeting, so it was like if they sell that they make more money, and that could have been a possibility. Or it could be that they weren't trying to scare me away, because maybe if I saw the price on the carpeting the godlike carpeting that I wanted to get, they'd have been like, whoa, I can't afford this, and just leave. But why would you not at least show it to me? Give me a couple options. Be like, well, I think this carpeting is really great. We're talking about the store brand or whatever, the commission one. If I was the salesman there, I'd be like, now this carpeting is fantastic. I think it's some of the best carpeting you could ever get. Probably lie, but it feels good. The price is pretty good, and we could get this done for you. What's it going to take for me to put you into this carpet? But then he could be like, but if this isn't what you wanted, that's like whatever per square foot, let's try this carpeting. Now this stuff's a little more expensive, as you can see, but this carpeting, godlike. And I would have been like, godlike, I'll take it. I don't know why they didn't do that with me. It made me kind of sketch on these people. But nonetheless, the carpeting, they're a decent company from what I could tell from the reviews and things that I've heard. And they did provide me eventually with the carpeting that I truly wanted. So long story short, this week that carpeting was installed, and I am so incredibly happy. I come down here in my bare feet just for fun, just to walk around. And I feel this carpeting on my feet. I feel me just like scrunching down in this memory foam, the padding that's below it. And I just love it. I am so happy. And my point of all of this isn't necessarily to tell you about carpeting. It's to tell you that sometimes making a decision that isn't always financial based, but more based on how you feel, can be the right choice. Like doing the financially responsible thing would be like, Greg, you just got carpeting a year ago. Don't get new carpeting, especially carpeting that costs twice of what you already put in. That's stupid. That's the worst thing you can do. But I go back and I say, this is my space. I love this space. The carpeting was causing me stress and anxiety, a little bit. Again, first world problems. There's people out there that aren't eating today. I'm talking about how this carpeting feels on my feet. So that should put it in perspective. But nonetheless, that's how I felt. And making this decision, even though it was, a financial setback, I'm never going to financially recover from this. To me, it was the right thing to do. And I shouldn't say that, because I only make financial decisions that are the right ones, and if we couldn't afford to do what we did, I wouldn't have done it. I've been playing the get out of debt game my entire career working at my job, and I know the power of making good financial decisions and not putting yourself into a situation that's gonna either hurt you or put you in a place where you're vulnerable to be hurt. So I have no regrets. I love this carpeting. But in addition to that, with the carpeting, and I promise this is going to be like the end of me talking about this, because I've been talking about this long. I'm sorry, everyone. Hopefully you just fast forwarded through all of that, if that's even a thing anymore. What do people call it these days? Fast forwarding was a thing with tapes. Now you scrub ahead. You scrub ahead. I don't know. This has set me up for a whole new blank canvas down here, and that's what I'm really loving right now, because I had everything kind of set up the way it was. With this new carpeting coming in, I've already been dreaming big. I've thought about bringing this back to the movie theater setup that was in here when we came in. Like, there was a big screen on the wall up here. If you go back through the videos and you see the first videos of this studio, 3.0 or 2.0, 3.0 for this one, they had a screen up here. I decided I want to bring that back. Instead of having our Lego build table be here in the center and like basically making this place entirely about Lego, I want to make this place entirely about spending time with my family, enjoying watching movies together, and also having spaces to do what I'm doing now, which is, I guess, podcasting, Lego commentary, live streams, but also have another build table, which I intend to have over here. And Brickitect is underway as well. Like I just went and I got samples for the granite that I want to be putting in there, and I checked with a couple different places, and we have that underway. So that creates a whole nother space that I can do like Snackitect videos, live streams, builds, mail time. Like everything is kind of coming together. I ordered a sofa yesterday, which is going to go here. It's a black leather one. It's like I guess it's like a love seat. And I'm also ordering my projector, which is going to be going in. It's a 4K gaming projector, so I'll be able to do video game play on that and also stream from it as well. I ordered a new TV stand that's going to go back there that's now white. I wanted to go with black because black is my accent. But then I started looking at like videos on the black TV stands and things you can get, and it looks like black oak, and it looks terrible. And I also saw reviews of someone that's had it for a little bit, and the dust situation is terrible. So white, it's going to be clean. I'm probably going to have some stack-on type things back there with my Lego pieces. I'm going to be getting white desks or tables that I'm going to be making that go along this wall. It's just like it's all coming together. I'm the type of person that envisions how I want things. Like I think about it in my brain. I can see this place how I want it. For so long that was cloudy. I wasn't sure how I wanted this to be down here. I wasn't sure if I wanted this over here, that over there, where this was going to work. But then I started thinking like, we got to start with the basics. What are my goals down here? I guess the number one thing is to be able to continue doing this. So this is self-contained. I can do everything that I want to do literally from this table. And I'm kind of inspired by a lot of people that make Lego videos that don't have this kind of space. They might have a bedroom. They might have a literal bedroom with a desk in it, and they do everything they need to do from there, and they're wildly successful at it. I can do everything I need to do from Lego from here. I would love to have a movie theater down here. I've got the projector. I've got an old one that I'm putting a new one in. I've got surround sound. I've got the receiver. I've got everything. It's already here. Why would I not use that? Why would I put a Lego shelf in the way of where I could be thoroughly enjoying watching Mandalorian with my family on a 120-inch screen with surround sound, especially in a time when movie theaters may not be a thing for a little bit. We'll talk more about that later. I'm just really satisfied with the direction that I'm going. It's costing me a little bit of money, but I think overall this place is going to be amazing down here, and I'm really anxious for you to come along with me on this journey because it's slowly but surely going to start happening. I've got plans for all over the place. Like I'd ideally want to put some little white cubes down here below where the screen's going to be. Like when you watch these missing pieces in the future, you're going to see a giant projector screen over here. But I'm going to have little cubes down here. I know if you're listening to this, you have this not relevant at all. But I'm going to get those little white storage cubes and put some smaller sets in there. I have no plans for the kitchen area back here. So that can be like a whole new, like, I'm probably not going to use it for storage because that's going to be back here behind me. So I might do like a display back there. I love what Shai does. Shai might be listening. Shai, if you're listening, thank you for listening, my man. I love what he does with his Lego City where it's on like almost like a bookshelf and he has different layers. And I've always wanted to make this Lego amusement park. And I thought about having a table out here where I have that set up. But I thought, why dedicate a table to it when I can take like a bookshelf and like have it stacked so it doesn't take up so much physical space and still allows me like a second building zone. So we'll have like sets almost down here. Lego sets and actual like filming sets where this is like set one, okay? This is where I do my podcast. This is where I do like gaming streams occasionally. I game on the projector too. Over here becomes another build section. Maybe something a little bit bigger. Maybe something that I am time-lapsing to do a build of. Maybe I stream the Lego builds from over there. Or just build in general. Maybe it's a spot for Clark to build. It's going to be an 8-foot table. It's going to be a long one. The bar becomes a place where we do Snackitect. I could do live streams there. I could do mail time there. It's open. So there's 3 sets. But then set number 4 becomes the couch. Or the sofa, the love seat. I could do mail time there as well. We could have like a heart-to-heart. I could do these episodes from the couch, like just chill in there with like my black leather couch, which is what it is. Have a coffee table in front of me, prop my feet up. It could be awesome. There's so many potentials here. And I don't like doing this typically where I tell you my visions. I'd rather be like, this is what I did, but this is all coming together right now. The couch is on order, should be here in a couple weeks. I got to show you. I'm going to do a community post on a couch that I almost bought. We went carpet shopping. We're not doing that anymore. We're done. We went furniture shopping on Friday evening just to see what they had at the place where we got our other furniture from and have been really happy with. And they said it's like 6 months to get a couch these days because of how backed up things are because of COVID. And they're like, you can have pretty much anything you see in the store. In fact, we would make a deal to you or with you. And they had this blue leather couch there, and it was really nice sitting in it. It's very comfortable, but it was also very expensive, and it had already been heavily discounted. And I was looking at it, I'm like, well, maybe we can make it work, but it was just like this bright blue. In fact, on camera, I took a picture with my iPhone. It was like royal blue. And I'm like, well, it could be like the centerpiece of the room. So what's the best price you could do on it? He knocked $300 off of it, but it was still pretty substantial. And I was like, well, let me think about it. And I showed the patrons Friday night, and they were like, no. It literally would be the only thing that you look at in this room because of how it stood out. Everything else can be black and white and gray or whatever. I want the Lego to stand out down here, but I want this to be like almost like a studio / museum. I want it to be simple. I feel at peace when the simpler things are. In fact, moving all of my crap out of here and putting it in storage, I've loved it. I loved it because this happened to me in my last space as well. And I know this episode is super all over the place and rambly, but this is my brain coming out to you right now, and I hope you're enjoying this or getting something out of it. Moving all this stuff out of here, having all those shelves full of all that stuff just clutters my brain. And having this be like this open, simple space now, I actually really like. I wish I could just keep it as just a desk in a giant empty room. It makes me feel like I'm the messiest thing in here, right? Like the disorganization that's happening with my brain, and like the quirks and the things that I struggle with. That's all I have to deal with. I don't have to worry about the set that's getting dusty over here. I don't worry about that thing that's falling over. I don't have to worry about this stuff encroaching in on me and suffocating me like it did in my last space, where I had all the boxes on display and there was no floor space and everything was just coming in at me. It made me feel very uneasy. I like this simplicity. And I'm going to try to maintain that while also having some things on display and having some spots where I can build, but also having a place that we can enjoy our family time together and, thoroughly enjoy like watching these movies and stuff that are coming out, and I can share them with you here and we can talk about it. I mean, I see so much for 2021. I plan to make a goals video. But one thing that I really want to do more than anything is become more of a commentator in Lego and all things, I suppose. Like, I love sitting down and just talking to you guys. And I feel like obviously these podcasts are an acquired taste. Most people don't have 30 minutes or an hour every week to sit down and listen to some dude just talk about his carpeting, right? But I think if you crush those things down, like you take this style and you make it into a 5-minute video or 10-minute video, where I could just talk about like sets I like or something that's happened in Lego news or whatever, not focusing solely on the Lego, but like my feelings on it, I feel like that could be very powerful, and it's something that I love to do. So hopefully next year, we'll talk more about this in the future. Hopefully that's something that you would like to see and be a part of, because it's where my heart is right now, and something that I'm really like kind of driven towards. So, that's the nice thing about being a creator as well, is that if I'm doing this thing today and I want to do something different tomorrow, I can do that. And if it works, that's great. If it doesn't work, then we go back to the drawing boards. I found myself at my, like, working at a job, maybe you can relate to this as well, like doing the same thing every day is just not for me. I get bored so easily. I need to do different things. And, it's a blessing that I've been in Lego this long, honestly, because you think eventually you'd get bored with that, but there's so much. And there's so many directions to go, and I'm very excited about this. So I just want to use that as a moment to say thank you for being with me all this time, and hopefully I see you in the coming year as well, because I think 2021, regardless of what happens in the world, whether things get better or worse, wherever it goes, I feel like 2021 is going to be a really great year for this channel, and I'm excited about it. So let's move on now from talk about my studio and the carpeting and Brickitect and God knows what else I just talked about in the last 20 minutes. Let's talk about a little bit of Lego stuff. I want to talk about something new that we're starting now, and kind of following suit with what we were just talking about. But this week I came up with an idea to do this thing called a haul review, and some of you may have seen it. It was on the Harry Potter Whomping Willow set. And we got that set maybe like a week or two at Target, and I got it on clearance, which was really cool. Or it wasn't on clearance, but it was on their website for $35, $70 set. They price matched there, of course, to their own website. So I took it up. The guy scanned it for $35, and we're out the door. And I thought, I want to do a haul on this because I share my Lego collecting journey, and a big part of sharing that journey is showing you what I'm buying. And you guys love haul videos too, from what I can tell. especially when there's a story behind it. So in this case, I thought, instead of just showing like the set that I got, which is just a box, why don't we go ahead and build this? And then why don't I show the box, and then we'll slide the box out of the way and the set's built, and then we can do a review right off of it. So not only does it become like a Dealitect video, but it's like a haul video, and then it's also a review video, a definitive review in some cases, if it's Clarkman. And we did that, and I really enjoyed that style. It was cool because the set didn't go in our backlog. We built some of it during the Patreon Lunch and Lego thing, and I don't know, it was a good set. And it kind of takes me to another point in Lego, since we're talking about Lego, and this is a Lego podcast, right? Don't judge a set by its box. I looked at that set originally and I was like, yeah, I don't really like it. It's just like filler for the Great Hall or whatever. And when we built it, it wasn't that. There was you of course have the tree with the Whomping Willow. You've got the car, which is really fun. You spin that thing around and there's a lot of detail inside that was missed when you just look at the cover. And some of you guys will say, well, Greg, maybe if you watched a review, you would know. No, I'm not a review guy. I don't like watching reviews. I don't mind making reviews where I share my opinion, but I don't like watching Lego reviews necessarily. But that set was a pleasant surprise, and I felt like at $35, it was definitely, like I would have gotten it just for like the minifigs and the pieces and stuff. In fact, Dave looked it up for me, and I think he said it was over $100 to part out, so I could have made some money off of it. But I never, unfortunately, I don't think like a businessman when it comes to Lego. I think like a collector, and I think like, oh, I want that in my collection, as opposed to, oh, I could buy 30 of those and put them all in my Bricklink store. Maybe someday I'll do that. I love Bricklink stores. I just don't think I would ever want to manage one. I want my place to look like a Bricklink store. Super organized. All the pieces are documented. I love that. I just don't want to go through the act of being like, oh, I got an order. I got to pick 17 of these, 3 of those, 5 of these, 10 of these, 40 of these, and then like go through all that, pack it up, take it to the post office and all that stuff. That's not for me. I'd rather share my life here on YouTube is where my passion lies. But maybe someday, I'll be an older man than I am now. Clark will be moved out, and I'll be like, yeah, maybe I'll do that for fun. It'd be fun to kind of document it, because I love watching the YouTubers that document their Bricklink stores, and they show like the things that they're bringing in and like organizing it, putting it away, and like pulling the hauls and stuff, or pulling the orders. I love that. I love watching it. Maybe I would like doing it. I'm questioning everything about my life now, guys. Eventually, I'll clear out the entire studio again. Like, I'll be like, Missing Pieces episode 100, and I hope it's not 100. I hope it's like 264. I'll be like, all right, guys, remember that whole season of my life where I had the movie theater down here and all these tables and stuff? I've gotten rid of everything. Now I have stack-ons all over every single wall, and you're now watching the Bricklink or the Brickitect Bricklink store, and we're going to be doing all kinds of videos for you, picking orders and doing all that. I could see it happening. I hate to say it, but I could see it happening someday, and I would probably love the heck out of it. But for right now, it's not where I'm at. But you never know, right? Maybe some of you guys, I'd love to know if someone will still be with me 10 years from now, 20 years from now. It'd be kind of wild to be like, I was there from the beginning. And it's like you'd have all the history. You know everything about my life. You almost do right now, probably, if you watch the vids. But I don't know. Just something to think about, and something like everything that I talk about, I probably am coming off like a crazy person. There's this person inside my head that's speaking to me right now. Be like, Greg, this whole entire episode, you need to start over, because you're coming off like you're on a manic episode right now. And I kind of feel like I am. I'm just so excited about all the things that are happening right now that I can't do this in a logical way. So that's what I want to talk about with Lego. We also got the 2021 Minecraft sets. We have a haul video on those coming out. It'll be out Monday. We just went crazy one day making like 3 or 4 videos, so I need to kind of space those out a little bit so I don't put too much on you at once. But that'll be out tomorrow most likely, and you'll see Clarkman with those. He's built 2 out of 3 of them. We also got the ice skating rink and the Crater Pirate ship. So now you don't need to watch that video. You already know. You've been in the know for the few people that listen to this. One other thing I want to talk about this week, that's kind of the Lego topic, so we'll set that aside. Next thing I want to talk about is the power of a really good teacher. So many times on this series, I've talked about how I'm not a huge fan of the public school system. I feel like it kind of is like a disservice to a lot of kids. And I don't know, I've had a lot of negative things to say. Even with my wife being a teacher, I think she's a fantastic one. I think there's a lot of negative things to schooling. And that's just coming from my experience and the life that I've lived and the programming that's gone into my head. But I want to talk about the power of a really good teacher. Clark has this art teacher who is absolutely amazing. And every week she basically does like a Missing Pieces episode where she gets in there, she talks about herself, she talks about art, she talks about self-portraits is what we just did. She took us on a tour of the art museum in Chicago the week before. We've made like our own studio space. You're dreamed up what that's going to be. She does these incredible assignments. And I appreciate her so much because other teachers that we have, they're basically YouTube curators. They're like, watch these 3 YouTube videos on this thing and tell me which one's your favorite. That to me is not teaching. That is slacking, in my opinion. And this lady just goes above and beyond, and she showed Clark and all the other students how to make a self-portrait. And she did it in a way that really worked well for kindergartners, and the way that she even speaks to kindergartners is incredible. Like, you can tell she loves her job and she's passionate about it. And passion goes a long way no matter what you're doing. You could have the worst job in the world, but if you're passionate about it, that just comes out. It does, and people can tell, and I can tell. And she showed him how to do this self-portrait. And he made one and was so proud of it. And he makes like a video showing it to her. That's like kind of how you submit your work. And the level of it kind of gave him new techniques on how to draw. So after that, he ended up doing another one using the same techniques. And they look fantastic. Like, they're really good for a 5-year-old. And I just like really appreciated this lady. And I think I should send her an email, because I think a lot of amazing people go unappreciated in the world. And you tend to only hear the bad things. You get like when people are complaining, they're not happy. But when someone's really happy, they're less likely to say that they are. And Clark has been using these techniques that she's given him. And he's created some really great work with it. And I compare it to his self-portrait that he made the first day of kindergarten, where you had to draw yourself. And compare it to this, it's like night and day. And that was literally 3 months ago. So I attribute a lot to this lady. And I'm just thinking, like, imagine having a person like that in your life throughout the different grade levels. Like, if you had like an amazing teacher in 1st grade or 3rd grade or 5th grade, and maybe you did, how much of an influence and power they can have in your life, because you spend a lot of time with that teacher. Like, these school teachers are, like, as a parent, these school teachers are the most important person in your kid's life during the day. They're there with them. They're teaching them. They're doing all these things. You get a bad teacher, that's like a year wasted, right? So, like, having somebody like this is awesome, and I'm just truly appreciative of her. So I'm going to let her know this week. I just wanted to share that with you guys to let you know that I'm not all negative towards school, and I can appreciate, the impact that school can have on somebody, because I'm witnessing it, and it's cool. Next thing I want to talk about here, maybe some of you guys guessed this from earlier. We're on rapid fire right now. This is episode 64, right? And I was a kid in the 90s. Born in the 80s, raised in the 90s, I suppose. And there was something that came out in the mid to late 90s that really had an impact on my life. And it was called the Nintendo 64. And it was a console that I got for Christmas, I think the year after it came out. We were always a little bit behind on stuff. But I remember the first time I played Nintendo 64. I went to a friend's house right after Christmas, the year it came out, which was it 96, I think is what it was? And he had Super Mario 64, and I had been playing Sega Genesis up to this point in my life. And when I saw this game in 3 dimensions, I was blown away. I was like, graphics can never get any better than this. This is incredible. And we were taking turns. It was me, him, and a bunch of other kids, and we were all just kind of taking turns playing this game until we died or whatever, and then the next person would take over. And I remember it being amazing. Like, the controller was like really wild, and the game looked amazing. And of course, like, I had to have one. So the next year for Christmas, my parents got me that with Mario 64 and I think Wave Race 64, which is an awesome game. And I had a lot of fun with that console in the late 90s. In fact, some of my favorite games, I made a little bit of a list here. This isn't all-inclusive, but ones I could think of is Super Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, GoldenEye. Oh, best game ever, GoldenEye. If you played today, it would be absolute garbage. Wave Race 64, 1080 snowboarding. I played a lot of sports games. I love playing Kobe Bryant's NBA Courtside. I love Quarterback Club, which is like the competitor to Madden that doesn't exist anymore. But I loved Nintendo 64 at the time. It was amazing. Going back now, I know that that's not the case. Like, the controller compared to today's controllers, really terrible in terms of aesthetics and how you hold it. Like, you held it like where your hand was in the middle, and the side section you never did anything with, but because I feel like they weren't super confident that this whole 3-dimensional thing was going to work, they didn't want to full in and go in on it. And then the thumbstick always got like crappy after a while, and you had to like blow it out because the dust was like, it was like actually grinding itself to a pulp while you played the games. The games really didn't hold up well. Like if you go back and look at N64 games, they look worse than what Super Nintendo games look because they were maximized for 2 dimensions. And when you go into that 3-dimensional world, it's pretty bad, but it doesn't take away from the fact that I loved the game back in the day. And I remember having like a pretty small TV, probably as big as the monitor that I'm using right now, and us having 4-player split screen playing GoldenEye on there and having just a blast. And that was a really good memory from my childhood. And just being on episode 64 got me thinking about that. And I'm wondering if anyone else feels that too. You have to be a little bit older, I think, to feel this, unless maybe you're younger and like your parents, they gave you their hand-me-downs N64 when you were young, and you're like, yeah, I'll play this, because it's like a good place to start. Does anyone else have any experiences out there with N64 like I do? It's amazing. Like things growing up, they just hold so much weight like that. And I guess it's always my quest to kind of try to rekindle that. That's what this Lego thing is. It's trying to rekindle that enjoyment or that lack of worry or like the excitement that you have over these things in your life. And it's a struggle, but I try to like remember what that's like and appreciate things. And I hope you do as well. But that's pretty much all I wanted to go over here in this episode. We do have a lot of listener feedback here. You guys, you were very passionate about the movie theater discussion from last episode. I talked briefly about how with COVID and with Warner Brothers striking the deal with HBO to have their movies come directly to streaming services the day that they're released in theaters, I could see this eventually being the death of movie theaters in the same way that when home video game or consoles came out, arcades kind of went by the wayside, and how when Amazon starts shipping you everything, or Walmart or whatever, like there's less reason to go to shopping malls, and why Netflix when it comes out, and the convenience factor is what I'm trying to say. That's the reason Blockbuster doesn't exist anymore, or I guess mostly. They do have one store left, I think, in Oregon, which I saw a YouTube video on. But my point is convenience always trumps experience. And as much as experience is awesome, like it's really great going into the movie store and looking at all of the cases and picking one out, the convenience of doing Netflix on your phone or on your TV at home always wins. Amazon is always going to beat going to a store, and it sucks. To put it flatly, it sucks. I mean, we kind of enjoy these things, but we also miss those experiences, and it's going to an arcade or going to the movie store, and maybe we don't know this yet, but maybe going to a movie theater will be the same way. I talked about last episode how going to a movie theater back in the day was a little bit different than it is now. It was like you maybe didn't have a TV. If you go far enough back, you didn't have a big screen like we have today, where you can go to Walmart and get a 55-inch TV for less than $500. You maybe go there during the summer because it had air conditioning and you could cool down and escape and stuff. And it still is an escape, but technology has brought us to the point where we can all have movie theaters essentially in our home. In fact, like I'm basically putting one in for the most part, more so than what most people would, but we're kind of at that point. And this was definitely struck a nerve with you guys, and I was gonna hopefully read some comments here with you as to how you guys feel about this and what your thoughts are, because it's unclear. I can't guarantee that that's what it's going to come to. Movie theaters may always exist because people want that experience, but it's definitely going to be harder when people have this option, if it's a viable one. But let's get into this here, starting with Mateo Hans, and I'm going to take a quick drink here if you guys don't mind, and I'm going to do my best to read these comments to you. If I make any errors, I apologize in advance, but here we go. Mateo says, I'm in my mid-20s and losing cinema would be a big blow. So many things changed in my short life. We went from VHS tapes to DVD to Blu-ray to streaming services. From no mobile phones to phones that could only call and play one game to Androids and iPhones. Last thing I watched in cinema was Rise of Skywalker. Same for me. And I had to go alone, which is quite an experience as an introvert. Because my friends prefer watching at home, where we join Discord and turn the movie on at the same time. A lot of people have everything within a few clicks in comfort of their homes, from groceries to other products to friends and movies, to the point where they don't even leave their homes or talk to anyone, and they don't live life to the fullest, which is depressing, really. Lots of things that gave me great memories, like Christmas shopping, cinema, being with friends outside, all turned into Amazon, Disney Plus, and Discord. Chima virus just pushed it even further. This feedback really, I think, just nailed it. You have these conveniences. They're awesome. but don't you miss how things used to be? Is there any going back to that? Can we get out of this thing that we're in? Will it just keep getting worse? I don't know. But James Rolfe, who's I appreciate all the comments here, Jim, and the support, man. Appreciate it. He says, video killed the radio star. Somebody's out there old enough to know what that means. Although not really, as we still have radio. There's always some truth in the new tech killing the old over time. 8-track, cassette, CD, DVD, Blu-ray, streaming. I usually went to the movies on huge premieres like Star Wars, the Lego Movie, or for a date night with my wife. She and I would rather see performing arts anyways for dates, so outside of maybe IMAX for epic sci-fi movies or animation, I would rather sit in my comfy living room with my family or invite some friends over and watch the show without outside disturbances. Along that line, though, we've had to give up our performing arts theater seats this year as performances are all closed. That made me very sad. I truly hope we find a way through this so we can enjoy the wonder and magic of a live show again. When my son turned 10, all he wanted was to see The Lion King on stage. We took him to this epic show, and to see his wonder at it and be swept up in the theater was irreplaceable. You are just a part of a live performance. You are, let me continue here. You are just a part of a live performance you cannot feel or be in a movie theater. I am so looking forward to taking my girls someday soon, as my oldest daughter would have been just old enough to see the Nutcracker, and my vision has always been to take all 3 kids to that every Christmas. I truly hope as a society we never lose that piece of our culture. Live experiences like art museums, concerts, ballet, and theater need to be in our lives. Movies, for sure, I love them and want them to be in my life too, but I'd rather cuddle up and watch them on the couch with my kids piled around me instead of in a seat 4 feet away. Well said, sir. I agree. I agree with you. Next one comes from Brittany. She says, change can be hard, and that's why it almost scares me to see theaters become obsolete. I agree it sounds pretty sweet to be able to watch the latest movies on a subscription service at my own leisure, but there's still something about it that makes me feel sad and unsettled. The world is changing so much. One day I'll be telling my children, I remember when you had to go to the theater to watch movies, and you sit with strangers and eat overpriced popcorn. They'll be like, wow, really? Yeah. We'll be like those old folks that are like, back in my day, you could go to the store and get a loaf of bread for a nickel. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I fear for the worst. Next one comes from Awakened Builder. He says, I honestly called this about a year ago. I pitched the idea of theaters going obsolete. Would that happen? Could that happen? I think inevitably it was going to happen, but with COVID and 2020 just sped up that timeline. I'm also the type that holds on to the idea that I like the physical disc to watch a movie, and even though lately I've started to dabble with digital content, and it sure is convenient, the subscriptions that you have are basically just renting a process, and your account could technically be wiped at any moment. With that in mind, I like the disc, but in the future, we all might have to adapt to that switch as well. That's a whole nother thing. Everything's going to be digital. I can't tell you how many times I've bought Super Mario Brothers for Nintendo over and over again. You don't actually own anything. If you buy all of your PlayStation games and that service disappears, you literally have nothing. And with some of the consoles going discless, or what do they call it? Digital only. I think that could be coming up in the future, but we'll see. There's still a lot of people without fast internet that would have issues downloading. So maybe discs will still exist, but movies, I think it's going to be less and less, in the same way that CDs. Can you even buy CDs anymore? I haven't done it in probably more than a decade. But it's sad. I mean, it's just, why does it feel like we're making progress, but things are getting worse? It shouldn't be that way, right? Let's go on to the next one. Golden Light Pictures says, yeah, I'm a movie buff, and I read... start again. Golden Light says, yeah, I'm a movie buff, and I would be sad about the death of theaters. Now, of course, I may be biased, but sure, I understand the convenience of the at-home experience. Heck, there was even at a time when my family just waited for movies to come out on DVD instead of theaters. But at the same time, there's just something special about the theater. Walking into it with anticipation, popping the corn, finding a seat, watching the trailers for more movies you may be interested in, and then finally building up to the presentation on a giant screen that would likely be bigger than any of our big screen TVs, as good as they are with surround sound. With that, there are honestly some films that deserve to be viewed that way, also, as well as sometimes watching with an audience or with your friends. That would be great too. Here's a spoiler alert here, so I'm going to skip the next line in case you haven't seen a certain Avengers Endgame movie with an epic scene that happens at the end. By the way, the only issue with the format of just releasing the big time movies on streaming or video on demand would be that the studios would technically lose money because you can't make as much money as it would at the box office, which is exactly what happened with Mulan. So I'm concerned now for the theater industry, and if it really goes down that path, it would be missed, by me at least, indeed. Yeah, I get you. My original idea for this, before any of this happened, was basically the Mulan thing. It was to have almost like a pay-per-view event as opposed to going to the theater. Like, sure, you can go to the theater and you can buy your tickets or whatever. Maybe you have 2 people, 4 people, 17 people in your family. Or at home for, $30, $40, whatever they want to charge, you do the pay-per-view or whatever and you buy it, which is what they tried with Mulan. Mulan wasn't necessarily like, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I don't think it was a movie that everyone was waiting for, like an Avengers Endgame or whatever. I think that would have done really well that way. But I like what HBO's doing, and I do wonder what the financial viability of this is, where they're just putting it as a part of the subscription service. So if you pay $15 a month for HBO, you're going to get whatever movies Warner Brothers is putting out that month. And that's pretty wild. That seems very underpriced. One thing I do worry about is these streaming services, as Netflix and Hulu or whoever starts making deals with these movie producing companies that are like, okay, we'll put all of our movies on Netflix in 2021. Is the price of Netflix going to double or triple or quadruple because they're providing all this epic content? That is always their justification for raising prices, is that, well, we provide all of this original content here exclusively to you, and we have to pay for these things. And now they're going to be like, well, if you want to see the new Harry Potter movies or whatever, I'm just using that as an example, that's why you have to pay $40 a month for Netflix. And maybe you'll do that because you're like, well, I used to go to the movies like, twice a month. And, it was me, my wife, and my 2 kids. And that was $50. Plus we'd go out for dinner, which is another $100. And then we got popcorn, which is another $1,000. And, this is actually very affordable. And I think I could swing the $40. Maybe we'll see that. And I think movie companies are going to be just fine. I think the companies that own the theaters are going to be the ones that realize they don't have any ground to stand on anymore. In the same way that arcades found that out as well. When people decided that, hey, I don't need to go and pump quarters into a machine all day. I can buy a game for $50 and play that for the next 3 years or whatever. So yeah, I guess we're still gonna have to see what happens here. 2021 is going to be kind of a weird year, maybe a transition for this, and then maybe like the next year, so hopefully we're all back to normal then, God willing. Maybe we'll see people flock back to theaters. I saw there was some sentiment about that once this is over, everything's just going to go back to normal. But sometimes it doesn't, especially with technology. Things tend not to go backwards. But we'll see. Does the experience trump the convenience? I don't know. We'll see. Let's go on to the final segment here of the day, my friends. This is Wins of the Week. Something I do every week. If you have a win of the week that you'd like to share, throw it down in the comments for this week. It's win of the week can be anything that you found this week that was good for you or worked out. It's kind of like a positive way to send out the episodes and like get you pumped for the week ahead. Mine, of course, was putting the new carpeting in and just like thoroughly being at peace with that. Landino's was having a white elephant party with some of my friends. I got an iconic "That's What She Said" t-shirt or sweatshirt. Problem is, I cannot wear it when my mom is home because she would take it away even though I'm a teenager. Oh man, Mom, you need to lighten up a little bit. You can tell her I said that. That's what she said. Oh man, I need a "That's What She Said" sweatshirt. But enjoy it. Wear it, put something on over it. And then when you get to school, take that thing off and then you'll probably get sent home and then your mom's gonna be really mad. Don't do that. I don't know where you're gonna wear it at, man, but enjoy your "That's What She Said" t-shirt, sweatshirt. I don't know why I keep calling it t-shirt. Next one's from Jedi Master, Anakin Skywalker. Hello there. Win of the week. I uploaded my first video with my voice in it and got very positive feedback. I'm a lot more confident now. I love that. Don't be worried about what other people are going to say. Frig 'em. I'll put it that way. Frig 'em. Sorry, moms that are listening. Sorry if you're the mom that gets offended by "That's What She Said" and if I say frig 'em. Do what makes you happy. Don't let people hold you back from living the life that you want to live. That's my Advice-a-tech for you. I'm proud of you for putting your voice on there. And your voice is just your voice. It's one thing showing your face. That's when people really get mean. I think your voice would be just fine. And, don't worry about it. You'll be okay. I'm proud of you, though. Next one is from Rex the Reviewer. My win of the week was having fun playing Dungeons & Dragons. That's awesome, dude. Never played it before, but I know it's a big thing. Or at least was a big thing. Probably still is a big thing. Stranger Things, it's a big thing. Next thing is from Ryan Markham. He says, my wins of the week, we're signing up for the Discord server and making time to play some OG Metroid. That's not a plug by any means. I did not have him put that in there, but I'm glad you're part of the server. It's been fun. As I mentioned, lots of peeps have signed up, and it's like there's so much happening there. The conversation, I can't even keep up with it. Like, I go in and I've tried to read it. We have like a thing for introductions where people say like who they are and what brought them there. There's like a gaming one. There's one for like Lego. There's one for halls. There's one for mocks. There's one for art, which the art one is like booming too. I didn't realize there's so many artists out there, and like I see other people getting inspired to make art from the art that people are making, and it's friggin' awesome. I wish I would have done a Discord a long time ago, but we can't go to the past. We just got to look to the present and the future and be thankful for what we have. Speaking of being thankful, I have one more comment here. This isn't a win of the week. This is one it's a very sweet comment, and I put this at the end in case I get emotional, which I'm not going to do, but if I put this at the end, and if I need to bail on you, I can certainly do that very quickly. So I'm going to read this without any emotion at all, and we're going to wrap it up on this. If you guys do want to support it, I'm going to say this all now so I don't have to say it at the end when I'm crying. If you guys want to support this podcast, you can do so by leaving a comment for next week. If there's anything that I talked about here that you found interesting outside of the world of carpet, who even made it that far? If you want to share your win of the week, if you just want me to talk about any topic in particular that you're interested in, because I'm always up for talking about anything, throw that out there. If you need some advice on something, throw that out there. I can give you some dubious advice. Whatever it is, I can. I like to be an asset to you in that regard, and to keep you company each week. And I appreciate everybody that listens in on this every week. It's awesome to see how many people just want to sit down with me and listen to podcasts. Like I said earlier, it's definitely lower than what the normal videos are, but putting an hour into a dude just sitting here rambling like I am is one heck of a commitment. And if you're listening to my voice right now, I appreciate you. Speaking of appreciation, last comment. This is from Michael. He says, Greg, I would love to see the drive-in movie theater. Oh, that would be a good comeback too. Says, I believe it would bring back the family culture closer. If we're talking about Mandalorian, just tell everyone spoiler alert and tell them to turn off their video if they don't want to know. I was talking in the last couple weeks about how much we've been thoroughly enjoying Mandalorian, and I'm trying not to talk about it because some people haven't watched it yet. But once it's over, I'll get with my buddies and we'll do like a whole Mandalorian spoiler episode or whatever, where we can talk about how much we are loving this. Now we get into the difficult part here, and again, I'm gonna keep it cool here. This is my commitment to you. He says, I watch all of your channels, and it's great insight. I watch it with my wait, let me start over again. Should we just start this over? Let's start this episode over again. I watch all of your channels, and it's great insight. I watch it with my 3 kids on all of your channels. It helps my kids understand the different dynamics about true family life. I'm raising 3 boys by myself, 12, 13, and 14, and we all get together to watch your videos, and we make it a family night thing to continue the good job. My kids love Clark Man a great deal. I just want to say thank you. My children are missing their mother. All of my children love Lego, and I've accumulated a large number of Legos because of this. One of my sons loves RC trucks, so all of your great reviews on RC trucks or cars that are cheap, we've gone out to try them, and we've had a great deal of fun with them. I want to say thank you. You are making a big impact. I love you guys, and I hope you guys stay safe and have a good holiday. I made it. I made it. I made it. I want to again thank you guys all. Thank you, Michael, for those kind words, man. I appreciate that. I wish you the best of luck with your kids. I can only imagine what it's like to raise 2, soon to be 3 teenagers by yourself. I couldn't even imagine raising a Clark Man by myself, but you're doing it, and you should be very proud of yourself, and I'm proud of you for doing it, my man. I know it can be hard losing a family member, and you got to stay strong and stick together, because the 4 of you are very powerful, and it's an honor to be a part of your lives, and I'm losing it. It's an honor to be a part of your lives, and I'm glad you're enjoying the content, and I'm glad everyone else here is as well. I hope you guys have a glorious week. Make it the best week of your life, and I'll see you guys, or I'll find you guys in the next Missing Pieces.